Hi there, welcome to the contact center solution for remote agents. It's ECS here. You've got my colleagues Ignacio Pizarro and Ian Hartwell, myself, Philip Smith. And we really wanted to get this video out to try and help people with how they're going to be able to keep their contact centers operating with the recent events that are happening. So I think you'd have had to have been in a sleep for a long time if you didn't know what was going on with the COVID-19 pandemic at the moment. And we know that this is having an impact for contact centers across the globe, where the agents that would normally be answering calls in the contact center itself could possibly be asked to self-isolate or not be able to go to their place of work. One of the main problems here with this is that obviously, if you have a business continuity plan or a disaster recovery plan, it may well not work for the agents moving into another site to be able to answer those answer the calls that are coming in from customers. And so there's a set here of common questions that we're being asked at the moment from our customers and people that we're talking to, our partners, Amazon Web Services, where we're hearing a lot of the same things in terms of not being able to facilitate answering those calls at the moment. They're asking us for help with how do we set up a contact center where we can pass out these calls to potentially remote agents quickly. I'd like to ask Ignacy and Ian if they've got any extra comments that they can add to this at the moment.
Hi, Phil. So yes, one of the questions we get asked a lot is what happens if my agents can't physically be in the contact center? What happens if, for example, one of them has tested positive of COVID-19 and they need to self-isolate with the rest of their colleagues? Things like making sure that the agents can follow the government guidance and put themselves into isolation and make sure that they don't put other people at risk. These are the main concerns at the moment and things we are trying to answer for our customers.
Yeah, another one from me. So customers are asking about their end customer in terms of maybe they can't get out of the house and they have to use a telephone. However, a lot of the call centres at the moment are packed and they can't accept any more calls due to their own capacity. So here we try and provide a really scalable solution, which also provides a lot of information to that customer. So we allow messages to be played back to customers, which hopefully may resolve their query before it even reaches an agent.
Cool, thank you. Well, obviously, this is all being supplied through Amazon Connect. Amazon Connect is a cloud-based platform, which means that it runs on top of the AWS ecosystem. It's actually created in-house by Amazon. It's what they use to answer the calls from their customers. And the great part about it is that you're not going to spend weeks waiting for the hardware to be configured and set up in a remote location or in a data center, and you're actually not going to have to provision all of the contact center estate that you would normally with physical platforms. And this is really good because obviously at the moment, where calls are coming in and that there's not really any way to predict them at the moment because of the situation, you need to be able to scale. And whether that's scaling into automated responses, so IVRs and natural language, or into agents that can work from home that are able to take those calls, the ability to be able to capture all the calls and actually handle them in a good way is a great thing, and it means that you won't be just cutting customers off because the capacity is not there. Another good thing about it is everybody's hoping this is not going to go on forever, so there are actually no commitments required for you to be able to use Amazon Connect. It's pretty simple. You have to get an Amazon Web Services account, and then you can spin up one of the Amazon Connect instances in one of a few regions. And once you have done that, you're able to pass those calls into the platform. When you've finished with the platform, if we go back to normal and everybody comes back into the contact center, then you won't actually be paying for the platform itself because it is an on-demand platform, so you pay for it as you go. Have you guys got any comments on the Amazon Connect architecture?
I think the important thing to remember is it's no hassle telephony. As I was saying, Phil, it's not just the hardware, but it's also the telephony. You don't have to worry about zip trunks or anything like this. You just have to be able to provision a few numbers and you're ready to go and set for your agents. The automatic scaling is also interesting in the sense that it will deal with the number of calls and scale automatically up and down as you need it, which is something that is really crucial these days.
Yeah, and in terms of how those calls route from being dialed into the contact center and getting to an agent, it's very similar to other contact centers. It's all skills based, so based on the phone number or a call steering menu that the customer may select, it will queue it to a queue and then go through to an agent who has been allocated to that queue. It also has call recording functionality built in. We just need to tick a box to enable that. Also, it has a number of real-time and historical reports built into the system, which is very easy to add new ones and create new reports.
Yeah, it's interesting. Another one on that as as ECS, we're actually developing a dashboarding product that sits on top of the Amazon Connect platform, which will give even more insight historically, and hopefully enable the ability to be able to do some kind of forecasting on that data that's coming out of the Amazon Connect platform. There was also one other in terms of the high quality for voice. Ignacio, I think you were going to add something to that.
Yeah, it's interesting because the codec that's used provides very high quality for the users and the agents. It's also important to understand that it's needed just an internet connection and a normal computer to be able to provide service for your agents.
That's great, thank you. So in terms of the scenarios, you may be thinking at the moment, well, this is all good, what do I do with it now? There's a couple of scenarios. So you could actually stand up an entire contact center. And as we've said, you can use it to bypass your existing estates. So obviously, we can't be very specific here about what existing estates look like, but most contact centers have the ability to divert their calls into different endpoints. And so you can configure those endpoints on Amazon Connect very, very quickly. We think that within 24 hours, you can get a basic service up and running. And once you've done that, you can then allow those calls to come into the Amazon Connect platform and let the Amazon Connect platform take that scale and deal with them. Ignacio, are there any other scenarios you wanted to mention?
I think the important one is being able to deflect the overflow of calls. We've heard of customers having a 600% increase in calls, for example, and being able to handle those outside of the system you currently have is also important. So you could easily set up Neo or dedicated service and service those requests and those calls from that Neo service.
Cool, great. And in terms of the remote agents as well, the connectivity there is that once you are on the Amazon Connect platform, sure, you could route all of the calls back into a single building as a contact center. Obviously, it's probable that you're not going to be able to do that over the next few weeks with government setting specific things around social distancing and so on and so forth. So it does actually enable you to connect remotely, which means that provided you've got a decent USB headset and the machine that you're operating on is a good enough specification with the bandwidth configured correctly, which you can test on a tool that's available through Amazon, then you should be able to service calls remotely, which means your customers that are calling you can still get through to a human being and you can still actually explain to them what's going on, or you'll still actually be able to help them create or succeed in what they're trying to do through you. So what do you do next? Well, ECS are putting a couple of things together. One of the things we're trying to focus on is get customers to really start thinking about what will they do if they have to trigger disaster recovery, or in terms of business continuity. Will they be able to service those agents out of their existing estates, or do they need to find a different solution? And one that doesn't just literally turn off the phone lines. There's something that actually has to answer customers' calls and help them understand how it's impacting them, or help them with being able to carry out their daily tasks. If you have the ability to do so, there is a link here which will take you through to a blog that was written on the Amazon Web Services website, and that will guide you through setting up very basic elements of the contact center. If you don't have the capacity or capability to be able to do this within your organization, then definitely reach out to Amazon Web Services if you have an account manager already, or if you don't, contact us. We reckon we can get a contact center up and running in just under 24 hours with some simple routing connection for remote agents, and the ability to be able to route your calls through the system. And then obviously once we've done that, you should be able to take those calls and communicate what you need with your customers. So thank you for listening. We hope this has been really helpful. We're keeping it short. Hopefully we'll be back very soon with some more content and some instructions and maybe some answers to your questions that you might have in terms of the levels of security or in terms of data sovereignty, where the regions are, and a little bit more about the architecture of Amazon Connect. Thank you very much.